Today we're going to talk about the U.S. invading Nigeria. The reason I say invading, because people say, they're supposedly helping Nigeria bomb and kill terrorists. But this is how they're getting a foothold into Nigeria on the pretext of killing people who are supposedly targeting Christians. And we know that in the United States, the only way you can justify these types of military adventures is if it's tied to terrorism. They said that they're targeting terrorism because they're killing Christians and there's a genocide. We're from Nigeria and we know very well there's not a genocide of Christians. In certain parts of Nigeria, Christians are being persecuted. That's not terrorism, and it's not linked to America, because America has to show how there's a link to who they're killing over there and how it can affect America. What they're doing is that they're doing bombing in Nigeria, saying that it's under the pretext of terrorism. Same thing they did with weapons of mass destruction with Iraq to make up billing for bombing. Also, keeping that area destabilized, because we know that the money that the so-called terrorists get is from France, routed through the U.S. But mainly this is two things: to keep the country destabilized, to rack up military billing, and also to hold Nigeria hostage, in which it's dependent on America, and they now have a foothold on the resources in the country, because they're going to say, to pay us back for what we did, we're going to give you grants and loans for this anti-terrorism, but now you have to play ball. Now, the part of the country where they did the bombing is in the northwest. And they're saying that it was ISIL. Anybody who lives in Nigeria knows that ISIL doesn't operate in the northwest. They operate in the northeast. And also, what's going on in the northwest is mostly bandits who are killing mostly Muslims over territory and getting resources, sort of like the mafia. It's sort of like a shakedown. So the question is, why would America care if bandits were killing people in Nigeria? They wouldn't care. Nigeria has lost its sovereignty here because they've invited America under. Their arms are twisted because Trump said, if you don't have us come in here to solve your Christian problem of Christians getting killed, we'll come in on our own self. So Nigeria was coerced to bring in the U.S. to do bombings. These bombings are just exercises to justify spending money, which American taxpayers and Nigerian taxpayers will pay. And also it keeps that area destabilized so that they don't join the Sahel nations, which are strongly influenced and funded and sponsored and kept alive through BRICS and Russia and China. What are your thoughts, Kune?
Yeah, well, first off, when we talk about this claim of Christian genocide, there is no genocide, but there is an animosity between Muslims.
Yeah, there's a little bit of persecution. I'll call it persecution.
But
a little bit of it, yeah.
Same in the West with Westerners being Islamophobic, but they're not. It's not a genocide. It's like a kind of religious persecution, like a form of race, a form of bigotry. There's a form of bigotry. It's nothing more than that, and it's simply human nature. Whether it's Christian, Muslim, Hindu, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. You're different from me. I don't like you. That is completely different from this genocide. The last attack we had in the last few days was a suicide bombing. We know that Nigerians are not naturally going to go and do suicide bombings. These are cultures from outside. There's no culture in Nigeria that promotes suicide attack. So I know that these things come from Boko Haram, which came from ISIS, which came from the Middle East, and it came out in the last 15 years. It's a foreign culture that's being brought in to encourage poor people. The biggest problem, forget, how was ISIS able to get the money? Lafarge, a French company which had a branch in Syria, and they were convicted in 2020 for basically funding ISIS. And then we also know about Netanyahu assisting to help fund ISIS take Assad down. We also know about the CIA funding the Taliban. We also know that Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden was an asset of the US. So all the major jihadist terrorist organizations of the world that people fear were all created or heavily involved in sponsorship from the very people accusing them, which is the West. The terrorists are fundamentally Muslim that I know of, Hezbollah and Hamas. Those are the two main ones. They don't have a reputation for attacking anyone outside their country.
No, they're just Israel.
Stopped Israel dead in their tracks in 1982. Hezbollah was only created in 1978. Hamas as well. All they do is stop incursions. Where there's no Hamas, you have the West Bank, where everybody's feeling sorry for them, but they're taking their land without any opposition. Hamas So if you put resistance, you're a terrorist. The Nazis called the French resistance terrorists for the same reason. ANC was called terrorists for the same reason. The IRA were called terrorists for the same reason. That was Christian on Christian. That was Protestant versus Catholic. So when these things become political, it's no longer about the religion. It's purely about wealth, land, and power. The religion is just an excuse. If there was no religion, they just use something else to fool people. It's just a religion they're at hand to use. And people think that if there's no religion, there'll be no violence. Human nature is to be violent.
Using the George Bush playbook, terrorism. It used to be in the Middle East, it was the Kurds. Oh, they're treating the Kurds wrong. We have to go and save the Kurds. Now, if they're treating the Christians wrong in Nigeria, we have to go and save them. They're treating white people who are Christians in South Africa wrong. So we now have to put sanctions on South Africa. So when you're watching what's going on in Nigeria, Nigeria has something with the Nigerian government should not have caved into the U.S. because by letting the U.S. because the Nigerian government protested at first and said there's not genocide in Nigeria. But when Trump said if you don't stop it, we're going to come guns a-blazing. Then all of a sudden, Nigeria and U.S. are doing joint operations against terrorists. No, what it really is that it's just a joint money-making operation, mostly for the U.S., which was coercing Nigeria, which is why I won't blame Tinubu, because they probably could have told him you'll get assassinated if you don't do it.
We're still a client state of the West.
Yeah, but we protested after we did the bombing.
Fight in Nigeria between America and Western Europe for control of or influence in Nigeria, which is why America has turned on ISIS. ISIS is not really being empowered by America. ISIS is being more empowered by Western Europe.